In order to register, before closing this panel, to inform that from now, 5:30, it's going to be offered a cocktail in the Black Hall. And it's going to take place tomorrow, 10:30, of the 11th Parliamentary Forum of BRICS. I invite to the floor Senator Leila Barros, leader of the Female Caucus in the Federal Senate. Thank you, Jacques Rocha, our coordinator of the Female Caucus of the Federal Chamber, but it's a leadership, it's a strong woman. It's really good to share with you this event, not only with you, but all the senators, deputies, our Chamber and Senate, to our helpers for giving us this extremely important encounter. I'd like to thank the delegation of South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, China, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, India, and Russia. My warmest greetings. And my deepest thanks, not only my name, but all the Female Caucus of the National Congress. First and foremost, I wish to express my profound gratitude for the presence, willingness to engage in dialogue, and contribution to each and every one of you at this second BRICS Women Parliamentarians meeting. The diversity of experiences you brought to Brasilia enriched the debates and strengthened our bonds of cooperation. This bond of cooperation. It became evident throughout the day that this gathering is more than a sporadic meeting, as several others that we have during our parliamentarian exercise. Actually, this meeting is a political necessity. Women remain underrepresented in decision-making spaces across all our countries. Therefore, I propose that we institutionalize the BRICS Women's Parliamentarians meetings in the calendars of all BRICS interparliamentary forums. And that, starting in 2026, it takes place every year, if possible, even with a deliberative character, producing concrete recommendations for the summits of heads of states, and for the parliamentary forum. This will ensure continuity for our agendas and consolidate a permanent network of female cooperation. This is the meaning of this encounter. On this occasion here in Brasilia, we held 3 working sessions. Just remind us. The first session, Women in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, Protection of Rights and Female Inclusion in the Digital Economy. We debated how AI can expand but also threaten women's rights, our rights, the rights of all of us women. We highlighted the urgency of legislation that combats non-consensual deepfakes, enables the qualification of girls in STEM, science, technology, and mathematics, and engineering mathematics, and demands algorithmic transparency to avoid gender biases. And the second session, empowering women to face climate crisis, we recognize the disproportionate burden that extreme events, drought, floods, and fires place on women and vulnerable communities, and we agreed to incorporate climate justice into all mitigation and adaptation policies. And finally, the third, building the future, women parliamentarians and the BRICS 2025 agenda. Several representatives here, we aligned our priorities with the motto of the Brazilian presidency, strengthening South-South cooperation for more inclusive and sustainable governance, discussing global health, trade, reform of the peace and security system, the matter of health and mental health, institutional development, always from a gender perspective. And these debates prove that we women are protagonists in the responses to the technological and climate challenges of the 21st century. Madam Parliamentarians, Sir Parliamentarians, authorities and other guests, in less than 2 decades, BRICS has seized to be a financial acronym, to become an expressive bloc that defends multilateralism, social inclusion, and sustainable development. We present over 40% of the world's population, one-third of the global GDP, and above all, a collective voice that values sovereignty, South-South cooperation, and the reform of international governance bodies. And in this context, the effective presence and participation of women in the summits and the bloc's decisions proved to be a necessity of this global moment. I would like to conclude this brief address by extending a special invitation. Not all are here. Everyone is suffering from jet lag. It's not easy to take a long flight. We know that Europe, some countries are even 11 hours. It's completely understandable. But I'd like to thank, and I'd like a special invitation from 10 to 21 November, Belém do Pará, in the state of Pará. In the northern region of our country, we will host the COP30, including tomorrow. I'm going to a diligence at the end of the day to Belém. I mentioned here with Jacques, Deputy Jacques. We have the subcommission of COP30, both Chamber of Deputies and Senate. We have a diligence because tomorrow is the International Day of Environment, June 5th. But for those who are connected, and since, like Célia Chacriabá, we are going to Belém to follow all the agreements and follow-up of the event. Is going to be an extremely important event for our country. We're going to be 3 days in this diligence. So I keep you all updated of how it's the... So the Amazon will be the stage of crucial negotiations at a time when prolonged droughts, devastating floods, and other environmental tragedies affect thousands of families around the world, including in our countries. Global expectation is high, and we will only deliver results if we come together, women and men, parliaments and governments, with ambitious proposals for climate financing, a just energy transition, and biodiversity preservation. We count on the present mobilization of all BRICS delegations to make COP30 a milestone of concrete action. So that's why we're asking this encounter. I conclude by reaffirming that the strength of our bloc lies also in the strength of its women. Let us continue transforming voices into votes, votes into laws, and laws into a dignified life for those we represent. Thank you very much.
Passo a leitura da síntese da presidência das sessões
I make the reading of the... It's going to be delivered tomorrow at the beginning of the 10th Forum of BRICS.
Thank you so much, Senator Leila Barros, for this leadership, this incredible leadership, and to say that we still have lots of fight in this parliament and guarantee the reservation for the chairs for women, and there are no reversal on this electoral that has grown so much from the women and the politic, but that we can still go forward, and the chamber and the senators are together on this proposal. For the ones that are coming. Exactly. The meeting of Women's BRICS was on the 12th. Reunite representatives, the delegation of the members, South Africa, China, Cuba, Emirates Arabs, Iran and Russia. On a constellation of a governance global and democratic and sustainable. During the long system, they were aboard for the construction of together a partir das prioridades temáticas estabelecidas pela presidência brasileira dos BRICS em 2025. On the first section of this impact of intelligence, the female inclusion, debated on the disinvolvement of technology was new, but a new inclusion of empowerment of women of all levels, contribute for debates with Emirates, China, India, Iran, and Brazil. The intervention also formulate normative national that guarantee that the new forms of technology respect the women's rights, especially respect the women's. Also said about the mechanism of global to provide the digital violence and to protect the women and girls of this also made it clear that crime against women on digital places, also the responsibility effective of the digital platform from rigorous politics, was recognized with the central next to algorithm on the system automatics that went deeply. There was a dialogue of the importance of politics and programs, international programs that anticipate the participation of women at these areas with and more access to women to the digital tools. The parliamentarians also talked about the effect unequal of the different climate. Also mentioned the importance of the compromise, international compromise, together to change the climate, to make it an opportunity, politic, with the woman in the center.
Participated in these sessions the South Africa, Iran, India, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Russia, and Brazil. Several representatives highlighted that the women that live in the rural context and peripheral are among the main victims of the effects of the climate changes as natural disaster and health, security, forced displacement, and loss of income. It also highlighted that these impacts, they come from inequality, historical inequality, and structural inequalities that limit the access to women to education, technology, and decisive power. It also the responsibility of main parliaments formulating marks and public policies turn to mitigation and climate adaptation. Several interventions defended that legislation, national plans, international impacts lead to take in consideration the needs, knowledge, and contributions of women, including specific actions of financing, capacitation, access to land, and technological innovation, and participation of decision spaces. It was also highlighted the urgency to recognize this protagonist as a strategic for building a fairer future and inclusive. In the third section, the delegations reflected about the path to strengthen the cooperation South-South and broaden the protagonism of the women in the multilateral agenda of health, trade, technological governance, peace, and security. Participating in the discussions, India, Russia, Egypt, Iran, South Africa, Cuba, and Brazil. The interventions they made together with the centrality of women, building the BRICS agenda, understanding that their active participation must assume a structural role in the decisive process, reiterated the equality among men and women as the indispensable condition for the consolidation of a new international governance based on equity, social justice, and sustainability. For several times, it was highlighted the urgency to broaden the participation of women in the spaces of power in decision-making, national and international. It also defended the pairing of the powers of executive, legislative, and judiciary, facing the violence, the political violence, and against women, the fight for poverty and economic inequality, the stimulus for education based on inclusion and equity, and also creation of institutional environments more inclusive as necessary measures to guarantee the representation, the effective representation. The delegations also recognize BRICS as a strategic platform of exchange, good legislative practices, and the strengthening of international partnership, creating permanent forums, legislative practices, and also dialogues in favor of equality. They suggested the development of business alliances, political capacitation, and legislative initiatives to economic rights and of women. At the end, the meeting on an extra panel as objectives to the dialogue with banks of development and focus of broadening the participation of women as a beneficiary agents of the financing base of these institutions through exchange to strengthen the economic impact of the financial projects promoting equity, sustainable development of the BRICS country. The meeting of Parliament's Women in BRICS reinforced the commitment of acting articulated and collaborative in the countries of the bloc, recognizing the strength of the parliamentary diplomacy of women to foster the structural information, the content that is going to be forward to the 11th Parliamentary Forum of BRICS as a contribution to the Parliament and the building of an international agenda oriented by equity as a commitment to ensure the continuity of the meeting of the parliamentary women, highlighting the importance of its institutionalization as an annual event and permanent of the forum. These are the considerations of this forum that is already historical. I declare this session ended and we follow together for a world each time more human, just, and built by the hand of all women of Brazil, of BRICS, and all of the world. Thank you very much.